Hello, welcome to another episode of Zap Chat. I am your host, Zach Probst. Now, this episode might be a little difficult for me to get things started. This took me about, I'd say maybe roughly a month to get everything set up. I was having difficult time to discuss on what to be discussing for this next episode, so it's very likely that this episode that you're about to hear is going to be pretty short. So I do apologize for this advance, but I was just really torn of what to discuss. So the best I can do is talk about three things without top 10 favorites or dislikes or any animes or movies or TV shows, none of that. So it's mostly going to be about three things. We're going to be talking about an anime review that I got to watch that I bought on Blu-ray. Yes, on Blu-ray, not digital, physical. I still support that. And yes, I would have watched it on the website to make it easier and to save money and all, but this was an anime series that I was tempted to buy because I've seen clips of it and it's funny. It is super funny. And this anime show is called Monster Musume, an everyday life of monsters. I believe that's what it's called. And I got to watch it, and I absolutely loved it. It is such a funny show, and I'll try to break it down a little bit, bits by bits, but it's just a little tricky to talk about reviewing it for a whole series because I'd rather break it down to one episode here and there, and I can never pronounce the names properly, so it's just a bit rusty for me. But overall, I'll do the best I can to clarify on this anime series. So I apologize for not giving enough more info, but I'm pretty certain you guys are going to look it up and check it out for yourselves. So basically, here's what's about. The Japanese government had kept a secret that mythical creatures for like centaurs, mermaids, or heart, I don't know how you pronounce it, and La Mias or something. So basically, horses, reptiles, and spiders, they're all like half human, half creatures. So basically, half human, half monsters. And I really love the show. And it goes on by saying that 3 years before the start of the story, the government revealed the existence of these creatures and passed the Interspecies Cultural Exchange Act. Since then, these creatures, known as liminals, have become a part of human society. I apologize for not pronouncing that correctly, so uh, it's just who I am. Living with ordinary families like foreign exchange students and au pair visitors, but with other duties and restrictions. The primary restrictions being that liminals and humans are forbidden from harming each other or procreating. Basically, they're not allowed to make any close relationship because it is forbidden. The story, it starts out as a young man who lives in a house, and he is tasked to have a half human, half monster to live in his house for care. And the woman, she is half snake. The first episode starts out very funny, but I'm not going to go into detail because it's pretty explicit, and it's not exactly it's not pornographic, but it is not for kids. So this show is for adults for entertainment purposes only, but it is a very funny show. I loved it. It's surprisingly got a pretty good story in some episodes, but overall, I really love what they were going for, and I really think that this show deserves to have more episodes in the future. For instance, there's this particular team called the Mon Squad, and which is basically a group of how should I put it, like a group of half human, half monsters to work as an undercover type of a team to take down enemies. And so they made an episode where a bunch of gigantic monster beasts, which are like pigs, just really big, ugly pigs robbing a bank. I'm like, oh, okay, this is already getting good. And then after a while, they realize there's a bunch of undercover agents to stop the bank, and they're all half monsters. I think when I was watching that, I was like, oh man, this would be a really good spin-off series. I would totally watch that. And I wouldn't really care if they changed the tone and all, because I think it would be deserved, very much so. I really hope they do that spin-off series. I think it would really get everyone's attention. For my thoughts and opinions, if you get the Blu-ray, you'll be getting about, I'd say, 12 episodes plus 2 OVA episodes. For those who don't know, the OVA is original video animation, which is simply like a bonus episode, like what happened in the after events of the show. And they're just making little, make it funnier and have some laughs and make it creative and just, just a bunch of the characters just having a good time. I really like this. I really love the direction, and I keep repeating myself. I'm sorry, but it's just a really complex thing to explain it. But basically, there's lots of laughs, a lot of perverted jokes, and it's got, I would say, certain points of the story got a really good point of like, oh, that's relatable. I can probably see that from that for what this person's going for. So I really loved it. And if you buy the Blu-ray, you can also get this. See, it's like on the second disc, you get to watch bunch of like 30-second clips, and there's about maybe 30 of them. They're I think maybe 30 or 50 of them, and they're all about roughly 30 seconds apiece, and they're just basically like a commercial ad, like going like there's to be scenes going like, we'll be right back after these messages, and it would play this little short clip before commercials, and then right after the commercials. So I personally really enjoyed it very much, and it's just a ball. I would absolutely recommend this anime series, and I would absolutely not recommend it for kids. Definitely no way that my parents will let me watch this whatsoever. But I just think it'd be a really good show to watch that some of you guys would have a kick out of it. But it took me a long time to review this for a while, because since it's just so much to process it all in my head, and I kept meaning to watch the anime show again to refresh my memory and then explain to you guys, but due to my timing and with like my personal life and going to work and doing the things that I want to do, which are other things, like for instance, which I'll discuss our next topic, it's just kind of harder for me to keep up. But I promise you that in future references, I will be discussing on a little more easier reviewer to review of. So, for instance, I watched a new Lupin III animated movie, and I really had a blast. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but it's one of the newer ones that Discotek owns the rights on the Blu-ray, and I bought it physically for about $20, and I'm pretty certain the prices go up and down depending how early you get it. But I watched it, I loved it, it's amazing, but I'll break it down to more details in the future. So I think that would be my next one that we'll be discussing. For my next podcast episode, we'll be reviewing my next animated movie, which will be Lupin III, which is the more recent one. So I'd be happily to rewatch that one without a doubt. That one's much easier to go back in and process and have my thoughts and opinions much better. And I'll have writing down notes as I go. So that will be much easier. But for Monster Musume, I hope I pronounced it right. That one's a little difficult. Even though it's a really easy show to process it, but it's harder for me to explain it because I just don't have the time to explain everything on the show. But I was able to talk about the Bond Squad, which I really had my interest, that I really wish to do a spin-off anime series, because that one would be amazing to check out. But overall, it's still a really great show. I'd still watch it for sure. Just if you bring your kids to watch it, shame on you. Seriously, not for kids. To moving on, I really wish I could do it better for you guys, but it's just been it's just been a pretty crazy summer. I kept trying to record my next episode for a while, but I just been well, not just busy, but I have been busy. So yeah, already just my head is going to multiple different sides, and I can't exactly how to explain it first. So I'll put it like this: during the summer, we've had a couple of days where like a couple of rainy days, but mostly we've had a really hot weather summer. Uh, it's just been dry and it's been hot out. It's been reaching up to 90 degrees this past week or so, and my bedroom just got so hot. I'm not able to record any episodes because the heat is just bottling just really bad temperature. So as I was just not able to record my chance to record another episode, instead I played a Nintendo Switch game, which is called Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is the first time I've ever played a Zelda game that I've beaten. I never played any other Zeldas. The last time I played Zelda was years ago, which was Twilight Princess. I believe that's what's called on the Nintendo Wii, and I did not care for it. I really did not. As I was younger, I didn't really see myself playing RPG games because I just did not have a passion for it. I was mostly into race car games, more of an action RPG, like something that's a little bit more easier, like Brutal Legend, starring Jack Black. That game is fantastic. I played that game multiple times and beaten it multiple times, and because that game is such an amazing game, I love it so much. I just hope they do a remastered version so it'll come out on a PlayStation 4. I would love to buy that. Absolutely. And there'll be other games such as Gears of War. Not so much on Halo. I wasn't too big of a Halo person. I had played the first and the second, but I had lost interest in playing the third one because I did not have any money. Because when the third game of Halo came out, I never got it. I never got to play the game because I did not have the money for it, and I did not had a chance to get it for Christmas because I was interested on other games. So unfortunately, it was a bummer that I couldn't play any other Halo games, but I just didn't really have a big passion for it. So it was a bummer. I would pretty certain I would love to get that someday. But I did rebought Halo 2 on the original Xbox, which is a special steelbook case, and it is complete and it's in not bad condition, and it was super cheap too. I was able to get it for like maybe five, $10 for it. You can get them like really cheap now, like super cheap. So I was okay with rebuying Halo 2 because I just thought, oh, okay, I can probably get the steelbook case just for the heck of it. Uh, and I replayed it. I was like, oh man, I forgot how fun this game is. Because I remember the first time I got Halo 2 years back. I had a mouth surgery years back. This goes back in 2005, and I had my mom had me to do mouth surgery, which is I had to cut out just a little snippet of skin just inside of my mouth, which is on the inside of my upper lip and lower lip, and cut out a little skin off of underneath the tongue, like the center of it. So the way how I stick out my tongue, I can't stick it out far enough. I was having speeching problems, so it's harder for me to talk. So at that time, the best thing to do is get surgery where they take out some of the skin off. That way, my tongue sticks out further and have my lips upper and lower to being able to move a lot more. It's a little complicated, but basically they remove some of the skin and they use plastic stitches, it's like a plastic string of some sort, but they stitch it up, and I was not able to talk for 2 to 3 weeks, so for a long time without talking. I can somehow talk just a little bit, but it's like really muffled. It was very hard for me to speak, and I was not allowed to have anything like chewable foods or solid foods. It has to be liquid, and without any seeds whatsoever. So if I have strawberries, you cannot have any seeds, or raspberries, you definitely cannot have any seeds. Otherwise, it will get infected, and you're gonna have a rough time getting it cleaned out. And it was a pretty rough time. They were originally gonna have me take 2 weeks off of school, but I flat out said no, because you have no idea of how such a pain to take days off and come back in and missing out your schoolwork, and your grades will go plummeting. It would really hurt my grades really bad, so I can't afford to lose it. So I pushed myself. I went to school, and most of the time I never really talk. I wasn't much of a talker at school, so going to school, doing the usual thing, it was normal. And I don't really talk to people that much at school. And since I get bullied a lot at school, I don't really talk much to anybody. So it was easier for me to go in, do my work, and that's it. So I was completely okay with the stitches in my mouth, push myself, go to school, just get it over with, and then just like, yeah, deal with it. So I was okay with it. I made it through, and in return, after I got my stitches out, I got it all cleaned up, and my mom bought me the game, which was Halo 2, when it very first came out. It was still really new at the time, so she spent the whole, like, regular price, what was it, like 50, $60? So she spent the money just to get that game, for me, saying like, good job, Zach, you got your stitches out, you did a great job, nothing bad happened, you deserve a treat, here's your game. And oh boy, I played the crap out of that game, because at that time it was huge, and I loved that game a lot. And I'm sure everyone does, because I'm certain that back in the day, this was not this was not your typical first person shooting game. The one I grew up was GoldenEye, which was like the one of a kind first person shooting game that's never been done before. It was new, it was entertaining, and it's something we've never seen before. It was new and fresh, and we all loved it, and we all grew up playing that game. So same thing with Halo. Like I'm guessing the first game of Halo was kind of like in the same way, but the second one is what really got everyone's attention, because it was just new and different. The scale was bigger, and it's like watching a movie in some way. And they were really going big, and the voice acting was really well done too. I was really impressed with the voice acting, and it was a time worth spent getting stitches, and in return I got a new game, and it was a really fun time. I really liked it. For going back to I'm kind of went off point of the Zelda game, so I apologize. For Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, to go back on the games, I wasn't into Zelda. I never was. When I was younger, I really couldn't understand the whole RPG game. I really don't. I played it. I had played Zelda on the Game Boy before, and I never cared for it, because I just don't get it. Because like most kids, when you're playing the game, like a kid like me with a learning disability, I don't get anything of what this game is about. I really don't. I just want to just play the game and go for it. For Zelda, it's really complex, and my brain process can't understand at all of games like that. So as I got older, I slowly understanding more on games, but I was still struggling. Like a game called Tomb Raider Legend, which was the very first game to be released on an Xbox 360. I played the demo of that game, and I couldn't make it through of the game, because it involves a puzzle strategy game, which I'm horrible at, and I could not understand it. It's just how my brain processed when I was younger. My brain just cannot function on what in the game is explaining to me. It just kind of like, boom, there it is. What are you gonna do about it? Just happens, because my brain just can't really process that well. For those of you who don't know, I have a learning disability that's called Central Auditory Processing Disorder, which is not common to some people. It's harder for me to explain, but basically, think of it like a radio antenna. If you would talk to me for like 5 or 10 minutes if you're explaining me like let's say a Greek mythology type story, if you're babbling on a specific character and not explaining the whole story, if you're explaining just this one character and it's gonna explain the whole like 20 minutes long, my brain will just like losing signal from a radio box. Sooner or later, I'm gonna lose signal. The longer you just keep talking for the next 20 minutes, because I'm not gonna understand what you're talking about. So I like to keep things short and just make it simple, easy, yes or no question, and my brain just go, okay, that's more than enough. That's all I needed to know. But if you're to keep answering a long time, then my brain is like, okay, I don't know what you're saying, but I get it, but I don't know this, I don't know that. It's really stressful, and it's just what I had to deal with for a long time when I was a kid. But eventually, as I got older, which I'm now over 20 now, and my brain process has been improving. It really has. And I was able to make it through on some of the more complex games. And yes, I have beaten Tomb Raider Legend. I have beaten it several times, and I love the game. And I've even played the newer Tomb Raider game. That one took some thinking, too. There was a bit of a puzzle strategy going on, which I was like, oh, okay, just had to look around. What do I got? What can I do with it? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then there you have it. Same thing with the Uncharted games. Lots of puzzle strategies in that game. Holy crap. There were so many of them, I sometimes cannot understand it. Almost. So, but I made it through. I've beaten all of it, including the spin-off series. So for Legend of Zelda, there were a lot of games from Zelda, and I just did not have a strong interest in any of them because like I've explained a couple of times, I just don't get it. I just don't really care for Zelda. I really don't. Specifically, Link. I don't get Link. That's my problem. I just don't get him. But for Zelda, I know that she's a princess, and I know that she has been through lots of difficult times, and Link is the one who always saves her. I get it. But I just don't like it when they make one too many of them. I'm just kind of like, just make it simple. Just you guys tell me which of the Zelda games are the best, which of them has a better story, which of them is like a cult classic Zelda game, and I'll play it. But I guarantee you that I wouldn't really like it as much as everyone else. That being said, Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game I have ever played. Holy crap. And I've just beaten it for what you're airing. Let's see, today is September 17, and I've beaten it just a few days ago. And I love that game. Just wish the ending could have been better. I was not really expecting the ending just kind of cut off out of nowhere, going like, oh, that's it. Okay, better luck next time. I'm like, okay, well, that took a long time to make it through to upgrade my gear and all, but okay, well, at least the sequel is coming out, so I'm interested in getting that. Overall, Legend of Zelda is actually a really fun game, and I really like what they were going for, and I really liked how big the world you get to play around with, and it's like your own little playground. You get to have a lot of fun, you can explore multiple different areas, and it is so much fun. I never realized of how busy you get to fool around, just to improving like weapons, gears, your outfit, get as many rubies as you can, all that stuff. I was like, wow, this game is going to keep me busy for a long time, and it certainly did. This game took me about a month to beat the game. Roughly a month. It's crazy. That's how long it took me to beaten the whole story. But like I said, I've never played this game before. I never played any other Zelda games except Twilight Princess, which I've did not beaten it because it was. I just think Twilight Princess was, well, boring. When I first played it 15 years ago, Twilight Princess, I was playing it for a while and I was like, this is boring. I'm done with it. I can't play it anymore. It's not a great game. It wasn't my strong interest of the Zelda game. I really did not like it. But Breath of the Wild was much, much better. I was really into this game. And it made me appreciate more of the characters too. They really did a great job uh, on setting up the part of the story that they were going for. There wasn't really much a whole story while you're playing the game, but there's a lot of cinematic videos that you get to watch that explains the story, which helps. But overall, there's really not that much going on of the story. So maybe someday in the next game they would maybe they'll Nintendo can push themselves more to make the story to grow. Like I'm hoping the story would be like, I wouldn't say I wouldn't don't want to say improvements, but have a much bigger story. So, for example, as you're playing a game, you're gonna bump into stories like story by story by story by story. But Breath of the Wild, it's just mostly quests and helping out other people and getting through to the next level. There's really not a whole lot of story going on, so it was just a fun game. I was okay with it. I just think they could just work on a tad more in a game for the story. But that's all I really have to say much on Zelda because I have beaten it, and it's the only Zelda game I've ever beaten. I love it. I'm looking forward for the sequel, and I'm looking forward for getting the new Metroid exclusively on the Nintendo Switch. That game I am most excited to get. There are other Switch games I'm interested in getting. Astral Chain that came out just a few weeks ago, and that one I am very much looking forward to it. The only downside is I do not like spending $60 a game. I don't. There is only about maybe a handful of titles that I'm interested in. I'd be willing to spend 60 on it, but in most cases, I don't like spending more than 60. I really don't. But there are games like Cyberpunk 2077. That game is so huge that it's worth $60 right there. I'd be happy to spend $60 on the game for that big of a scale of a action first person shooter RPG game. It is enormous, and I would love to play that game so much. My only wish is it does not involve any online competitors. I'm horrible at that kind of stuff. I don't like getting involved with other online competitors. I just want to play a game that has a story. You get to go places and choose, like, make the things that you choose of what direction you want to go for and making a decision, whether it's a yes or no, and you go into that way. So pretty much like a butterfly effect kind of way. So a little similar like Until Dawn, which is a huge gameplay of a butterfly effect. So if you move this item, it alters the story. So same thing for Cyberpunk. If you say yes or no, you have to choose wisely, and whatever places you go, it's going to happen, and there's no way you can turn back. So for a game like that, ooh, I love a challenge. So Cyberpunk, you got my attention. I'm looking forward to it. Bring it on. I'm in. So now it's been about half an hour, and before we close the episode, and I know I'm sorry I'm closing the episode pretty early for you guys, but there's just really not a whole lot to discuss. I just because for the longest time I just had a difficult time to get the episode going, and because of due to the boiling hot temperature weather, my bedroom gets so hot it gets stuffy and I can't breathe, and I have to sit in the living room where it's nice and cooler. But yeah, I just could not do any recordings due to the hot temperature of the summer. But right now it's September, and it's much cooler, and it's pouring rain outside, which makes it a lot easier to record. And it's nice and quiet. It's nice and cool in here, and I get to watch more of my Japanese anime shows, getting caught up. And there's a couple anime shows I'm looking forward to watching too. I don't remember the names, but I might have to look it up and see, and I'll even review on one of them too, and discuss. So I'll make it easier for you too. So if I'm currently watching an anime show, I will happily to review it as I go, because I know it's going to be difficult to talk about all in one pack like I did in Monster Musume. So I'm going to break it down and review as I go. I'll try to do that. I got done watching the prequel series on Netflix called The Dark Crystal, and I love that show. Oh my god, that is such a great show. I fell in love with that show. Um, I remember watching a movie too, and when I was younger, I didn't really get it. It was really scary as a kid when I first watched it. I was like, it's not something I would interested, because I was only a kid. I didn't really get it. I first watched it back. Oh gosh, what was it, like 2002 or three, around there? The first time I watched it, I was really young, and I know it was the same people that did the Muppets. But as I watched it, I really couldn't get into it because it was so creepy and dark. I just like was really disturbed just to watch it, because it was too much for me to handle. So I wasn't ready for it. But as I got older and I got to rewatch it, because when I found out they're doing the prequel, I had to rewatch the movie. I had to. And as I watched the movie, I was like, "Oh my god, this was such a damn good movie." I did not realize that it's got a great story. And and as you're watching, there's so many possibilities on future movies or a series. So it could be a prequel, there could be a sequel, there could be a spin-off, it could be anything. And wow, they when they did the Netflix series, wow, I was really impressed. They really kept it as close as possible to the original movie. They really did. Even though there's some CGIs on backgrounds here and there, but they really kept it as much puppeteer of the characters, including the monstrous creatures, as much as possible. And if they're planning on doing a second season of the Dark Crystal series, I'm so in. I am totally down with that. But anyways, I kept going off for you. I'm sorry. Trying to make it up to you guys. Let's see here. But I will continue more of the anime shows in the future. I'm currently watching one. I can't remember the name of the title because it's not hard. It's just a really big title, and I can't remember all that at the top of my head. And it's in Japanese too, so it's a little time to process on the story going on. So I'm not gonna review that one because it's still an ongoing series. So I have to wait weekly of new episodes to pop up. So that one I'm not going to be discussing, but I will discuss other anime shows that's on Netflix. So I will go through that on the list and discuss what will be my next topic of the anime show, and we'll review it and make it easier. But for now, I will review Lupin the Third just for you guys, and I will make it that way. It'd be much easier for me to explain because not only is it an animated movie, but it's Lupin the Third, and I am a huge fan of Lupin the Third, and it would make it much easier to break it down like in a much better way. So I'll be happy to do that. So before we close down the episode, I have one more thing to discuss. This is for what I've been hearing for the past several months now. There is a Zack Snyder cut for the Justice League movie. And this was something I really wish should happen. it all depends on Warner Brothers and DC Comics if whether they would consider to re-release Justice League as a Zack Snyder cut. For what I've been hearing of the response, like an actor Jason Momoa who played Aquaman, he watched the director's cut and he absolutely loved it. He said, I remember he was tweeting about it and he goes, "Oh my god, this is the best freaking movie I've seen in my entire life. Um, please make it happen. I love it. And I love you, Zach, so much. And this is the best movie I've watched." And there's a bunch of other responses too, like the guy named I can't remember the guy's name, but this cinematographer who worked with Zack Snyder in the past, he got to watch the cut of Justice League, and he was in tears because he said he had a really great flashback memories of working on the film, and as he watched the cut, he was in tears because it was such a memorable feeling, and he loved it. So it turns out that from actors, one actor after another, they were making responses on how was the Justice League Snyder cut and how was it and what do you think of it, and they're all giving it so much positive thoughts. And there's even uh, twittering the hashtag release Zack Snyder cut Justice or something like that. Yeah, so they're kind of hashtagging it to support Zack Snyder to please release Justice League what it was originally intended to be. It was supposed to be a much big scale of a movie. So kind of a lot like Avengers, where they make two-part movies, almost 3 hours long. And for the Justice League, it was supposed to be like a two-parter or a three-parter, and was going to have a huge cliffhanger ending, but it was going to be really dark, like really, really dark story. And they revealed they kind of revealed what Darkseid would have been like in a live action. It was all over the web. And I looked at a little peek of it, and I was like, oh man, please make it happen. And I really tried liking the the Justice League movie that came out in theaters, and there were some good moments, but I was really disappointed how the movie turned out. I was really expecting Darkseid would appear in the movie, but man, I was not happy how the movie turned out. I really did. I felt bad for Josh Whedon too, because he came in and helped out finishing the movie after Snyder left. And I felt bad for Josh Whedon because I'm a huge fan of Josh Whedon and I loved all of his movies and the TV shows that he created. And I felt bad. I really did. I would have looking forward to see him doing Batgirl solo movie. That would have been amazing to watch. But man, just after what happened to Justice League, that it really hurt. It really hurt him. Not only Snyder, but Whedon also. So, oh man, I'm just it puzzles me on what was Warner Brothers and DC thinking in the past. Like what were they thinking on working on developing the DC movies? Like after Man of Steel, it got mixed response. Then Batman v Superman came out. There's a lot of mixed response. But when they came out on Blu-ray with the extended cut, they added 30 minutes of footage and made it into an R-rated movie, which made the movie better than originally intended. And then there's Suicide Squad. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good movie, but I would agree to some people that a lot of people did not like the look of the Joker. I was completely okay with Jared Leto as the Joker. I had no problem with that. My biggest problem was he was supposed to be the main villain of Suicide Squad, and instead, for what I understand, DC or Warner Brothers, they went in and altered the ending, so they cut out everything that the Joker appeared in the movie. So there's a whole lot of footage. For what I've heard, there's a lot of footage that Jared Leto was in, and they just took all of it out. They cut everything out, and they had to reshoot the movie to fix the story, and that was a bummer. And I would prefer Joker as the main villain. That would have been more fun for the movie. I was not happy how they chose someone else to take over, to be the villain. I was like, really? That's not what I saw in the trailer. In the trailer, is the Joker is the main villain, but when I saw the movie, it was someone else. I was puzzled, just gonna like, what was Warner Brothers thinking? You're ruining Zack Snyder's like movies, man. And I was shocked. I wanted to like Suicide Squad a lot more, and it's still an enjoyable movie. I really liked it. Even they came out with the extended cut, which they showed more footage of Joker and Harley Quinn, which is perfect for me. But overall, I was just really bummed at how it all turned out. I was really, really hoping the Joker would be the main villain, and I was really heartbroken that they did not. So for the Zack Snyder cut for Justice League, please, please make it happen. There's been a lot of positive response from actors and filmmakers, most of the crew members, and there's so many positive thoughts. Everybody loved it. They're saying it's the best movie they've watched. Warner Brothers, please have the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. Make a deal. Make it happen. You guys can do it. All the fans are depending on you. This is the version that we all want to see. Make it happen. Make it worth it. Spend your money. You have money. Make it happen. It's not that hard. I'm really giving so much support to Zack Snyder, and I'm even looking forward to check out this new Netflix like movie or series coming out, which is a new zombie flick, and I'm totally down for that. So please, please, make it happen. You can make it work. You can do it. Don't be a puss. Don't you dare be a puss. Make it happen. I guarantee you're gonna make a lot of fans super happy. And heck, I'll even buy the physical Blu-ray or the 4K and spend the money whichever I can. I would be more than happy to buy it for you guys, just to get the Zack Snyder cut for Justice League. I'd be more than happy to buy it at the store the day it comes out, and I'll watch it first thing when I get home. Guaranteed. This is the movie I want to watch. Not the one from theaters. I refuse to buy that one. I want the Zack Snyder cut. Please, please make it happen. It'd be worth it. Believe that. So, please support Zack Snyder if you can. He needs all the help he can get to make it happen. So, please make it happen. Please help out Snyder. He's going through a lot, and I have huge support of his movies, and I loved like pretty much all of his movies. I loved Dawn of the Dead. I loved 300. I loved Watchmen. I even loved the movie Sucker Punch, which not many people discussed that movie, but I loved it because this just shows you how complex and detailed of Zack Snyder's visionary of his movies. This just shows you how much of creativity that he can pull it off. And that's how much he really focuses. So if you watch the visuals of Sucker Punch, you'd be really surprised on why he does the superhero movies, including Justice League, to really make it work. So, final thoughts. Please. Justice League movie. Snyder Cut. Coming out on Blu-ray and 4K, if possible. Make it happen. Show all the bonus features. Show us all the making of, all of the behind the scenes. Having discussions. Even have an audio commentary. Make it happen. Please make it happen. I would happily buy the Blu-ray if you make it happen. Please make it happen. Okay? I'm going to keep repeating myself to annoy you guys. Please, please make it happen. Please. You have no idea. So, that's the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoy this kind of a shorter episode. I wish I can break it down more to this anime review of Monster Musume, and I for future things, I promise you I will do better reviewing other shows or even anime movies or movies and TV shows, all that stuff. I promise you I will improve as I go. But this episode, it's just been difficult to break it down to you guys due to the hot weather that we've had about a month ago. But right now, things are getting a lot better. I'm able to get through things much quicker, and I'm hoping to improve as I go forward. So, thank you so much for listening to my show, guys, and I hope that I'll do better on my notes. So, until next time, my name is Zach Probst, and this is Zap Chat. So, thank you for listening, and until next time, and I will promise you I will improve. And I promise you that I will review video games in the future too, which is pretty time consuming. But I'm currently playing one game. It's called Tales of Vesperia. It's got a major story going on, so that one's going to be pretty time consuming. But I guarantee you it's not going to be on the podcast because of how big of a scale of the story is going to be. So without blabbering of the whole episode, this is Zap Chat. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Good night.